Isabel Brown is very popular on TikTok. TikTok, by the way, is scheduled to be banned in the United States on the 19th of January, coming up in 9 days from now. It's going to be in the hands of President Trump. The law gives President Trump the ability to either keep the ban or to allow TikTok to operate or to allow it under what could be some sort of a settlement. But in the meantime, the Supreme Court may or may not strike down the law, allow TikTok to continue to operate. Over 170 million Americans use TikTok, and we reach billions of people on TikTok. Joining us now is Isabel Brown. Isabel, welcome to the program. Isabel, talk about the profound impact that TikTok has had making Gen Z more conservative.
Well, the truth is, Charlie, we wouldn't be preparing for a Trump inauguration in just over a week if it weren't for TikTok. It has been astounding to see the impact that campaign had on one social media platform. In fact, according to TikTok employees, Trump is outperforming his performance on every other social media platform on TikTok by a factor of 5. So he's 5 times more impactful on TikTok than anywhere else. But of that nearly 200 million Americans that you just mentioned that use the platform every single day, about 70% of those individuals are Generation Z, are this next great generation that we're starting to see become overwhelmingly conservative, largely because of accounts like yours, Donald Trump's, and so many others engaging with young people in an authentic, honest conversation that feels a lot more tangible and accessible on TikTok than it does on Meta or YouTube per se.
Yeah, so just really quick, we have a minute here, and then I'm going to keep you for another segment, Isabel. What would a ban of TikTok mean for conservative creators and the progress we've been making to make Gen Z red?
What's been really fascinating this last week is that there's been a much larger conversation opening up related to free speech on social media, not just from the First Amendment perspective, but from content policy and moderation perspectives too. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg just said they're backtracking on Meta to get rid of fact checkers and censorship of conservative ideas, largely because of TikTok. Now, I know we've all had our frustrations with certain censorship issues and accounts getting shut down over the last several years, but I've been screaming from the rooftops for about a year and a half that only one platform has been regularly reaching out to myself and other conservative creators to insist that we have a home on their platform, and that is TikTok. Frankly, the only reason that these conservative values are becoming trendy and cool again is because young people are confronting them.
Let me play some pieces of tape here of some of our viral moments on TikTok. Billions and billions of views. This video right here got 50 million views. Play cut 157.
Are you voting for Kamala?
I am.
Okay, what is her greatest...
Hey, free speech? Free speech?
Yeah, they have the freedom of speech to boo you. That's right.
Do I have the freedom of speech? Okay, so if I boo them, then it's an impediment of freedom of...
No, but I just gave you an open mic for 15 minutes. Let's just tell me, what is Kamala Harris's greatest accomplishment?
See, that's that question. You can't... Okay. The greatest accomplishment, that goes back to sort of establishing an extreme.
Email us freedom@charliekirk.com. TikTok is scheduled to be banned on the 19th, and I was a skeptic, and I saw the impact and the power that TikTok can have. I don't think it would be a smart thing to take away a platform that had that kind of impact. So, Isabel, TikTok is scheduled to be banned on the 19th of January. The Supreme Court heard the case today. We have no idea how that case will end up. It might strike down the law, which is very unlikely. President Trump has it in his ability to save TikTok. The law allows the president to strike a deal to say what is a qualified divestiture. I was just reading about it in the break. Do you think President Trump should save TikTok?
I absolutely do, Charlie, namely because this is a matter of First Amendment freedom of expression rights for all American citizens. I'd be really curious to hear everything that was said in the oral arguments today, but I do know this free speech angle was of the utmost importance for TikTok's legal team, and I'm sure will be based in existing Supreme Court precedent from a case back in the 1960s called Lamont v. Postmaster General. Way back then, American citizens wanted to receive propaganda that the United States government had deemed to be against national security from the then Communist Party of Russia. And ultimately, it was determined that your free speech rights in America don't just protect what you say out loud, but also protect what the Supreme Court called your right to receive. So when our federal government, namely Congress, from a bipartisan perspective, is making the argument that this is against the issues of national security currently occupied by the White House and by those on Capitol Hill, they're really ignoring this right to receive that Americans have baked into our Constitution to not just say something that might be unpopular, but to hear a difference of opinion as well.
The ramifications for banning TikTok, how many small businesses use TikTok? What are the economic potential ramifications here? Again, I think that something needs to be probably cleaned up on the data side, make sure that American data is not shared with the Chinese Communist Party, some sort of deal struck, maybe bring in a third-party data company. I'm just thinking out loud here. But as a creator, I was super skeptical. And Isabel, you were like, no, you got to use TikTok. You got to use TikTok. And we sent out this proclamation because we were banned so many times. We got banned from TikTok like 35 times. And Ryan was like, you got to keep posting. So we sent out this big tweet. And we said, hey, if you're going to treat us fairly, we're going to keep posting. And now we got like 5.5 million followers and billions of views. And so what would the economic impact of such a TikTok ban be?
Oh, it can't be underscored, Charlie. There are quite literally millions of American small businesses that have been built up thanks to TikTok alone in this post-COVID era that would essentially cease to exist almost instantaneously. Some economists are projecting this could yield a massive unemployment rise for Donald Trump taking office a week from Monday and would be catastrophic to the American economy. So that is certainly a concern. But as for this idea of American data, you know, I still have a very hard time believing that the true intention behind this law was to protect Americans' data. First and foremost, if this law is upheld by the Supreme Court, they are still allowed to hold on to nearly 200 million Americans' data after TikTok ceases to operate in the United States. So that data is just already out there. And we have countless documented examples of Meta selling your data to China, Russia, and the U.S. government alike. Mark Zuckerberg admitted today on Joe Rogan that the Biden administration forced them to censor certain content and to provide American data to the federal government. Airbnb has been known to sell your data to the Chinese Communist Party. So I don't really think that's what's happening here. When you see this rare bipartisan overwhelming support happening on Capitol Hill from people who can't even agree on what the definition of a woman is, the hair on the back of my neck begins to stand up, asking what's really the impetus for this. And I think so much of it has to do with the free conversations happening on the platform.
Final question here, Isabel. If President Trump saves TikTok, what would that mean for our worldview and for him? Would that be a big win?
Oh, it would be an endless win, Charlie, and I'm highly encouraging the president to do so, not just to protect this red wave conservative movement we're seeing happen with young people, but to continue encouraging conservative values to thrive across Western civilization. This isn't just protecting free speech and the exchange of ideas for American citizens, but young people everywhere, and I'm incredibly excited to see where the movement goes.
Isabel, great work. Thank you. I know you have many followers on TikTok, and I think President Trump benefited tremendously from TikTok. I don't know if he would have won the youth vote, and I do know this. He would not have won the presidency without the youth vote. Young people moved dramatically in his direction. Boomers moved in Kamala Harris's direction. Boomers were 3-4 points towards Kamala Harris. Donald Trump would have lost the presidency. You can make an argument. It's a little bit of a reach, but it's there that President Trump might not have won the White House without TikTok. There's an argument to be made there because we know that he would not have won it without younger voters. Isabel, thank you so much.